If you feel guilty about eating something and in your mind you're going, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that, you're literally telling your body to not digest that food. It's just consistency, and you just have to remind yourself that it's never linear. Whatever you do, it's never just going to be a straight line. Your body tells you everything you need to know. You just have to listen to it.
Introducing Jasmin Weston.
Creating budget-friendly recipes
for the world to enjoy.
Talking about batch cooking, what are some guidelines on how long these meals can last?
There's been a lot of fear instilled within us around food and the longevity of things. Once food is cooked, I will honestly keep it in there for a week, depending on obviously what it is. If you have a good airtight container, you're not constantly opening it every day.
Eating on a budget. With everything that's going on right now, the increase in cost of living, the groceries on the rise.
My 5 budget tips would be, number 1, do not buy pre-made marinades or pre-marinated protein. Buy the ingredients for the marinade.
Can you share a moment where your relationship with food or body significantly impacted your life or mindset? Guys, welcome to another episode of Chew on This. I have Jasmin, well, aka Jazz. Jasmin Eats, but it's like Jasmin's Eats, I've realised.
Also known as Miss Seats. People think it's Jaminseats. I didn't realise, but no, Jasmin's Eats.
There you go.
Yeah, fun fact.
Yeah, I was like, why is there an S in there? I was like trying to figure it out because I tell people about your account all the time because I'm obsessed. Like low-key fangirl. You make the best freaking food ever. And
I really appreciate
just
that.
like slightly disappointed that you didn't come with the Biscoff tiramisu, just as an FYI.
And she's like, I was really hoping you'd bring some Biscoff tiramisu. Like it lasts more than a day anyway.
But like, come on. I love tiramisu so much. And
I should have.
That video, I reckon I've watched like 20 times.
Really?
Just like when you're just, you're scooping it out and it just, and it's just like, Look, I love food.
Yeah,
Jazz loves food. This is the reason why we're having this conversation today, because I wanted you on here. I love everything you're about. I love your content, your recipes so much. But I also love that you appreciate balance and sustainability, which is essentially what we're all about. Our philosophy at EQ is all about finding something that you can sustain for the rest of your life. And for me, watching your content and the way that you just do life, you have an element of fitness, boxing, and you care about your health, but you have these indulgent foods is just something that I'd love to share with my audience.
Yeah, let's do it. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I love everything that you do too. It's honestly so surreal. I feel so honoured to be sat here, honestly.
And also, I could take a tip or two from you with your bougie on a budget with everything that's going on. So we'll definitely dive into how we can get the most of our grocery shop and how to, I guess, be more mindful of what we spend when we shop and how to do things on a budget when it comes to food. But for me, I just want to start off with a question that I ask all of my guests. Can you share a moment where your relationship with food or body significantly impacted your life or mindset and how you navigated through this time in your life?
I think specifically for the journey that I'm on right now, considering this, food creator journey has only been a little over a year, it was when, it's TMI, but I had gastro for the first time in my life a few months after I'd started this journey, and I was so sick and the antibiotics made me constipated. And I remember having a conversation with myself and checking in and just being like, if you are going to cook this much food to this level and you're going to put your body through this, then you need to like prioritize your health and your fitness, because the way I felt like death. I was on my deathbed. And so I remember that was when I got in touch with a naturopath. And I explained to her how I was feeling, and I just wanted to get on top of it. I didn't want to do a guessing game of, process of elimination, and I wanted to get straight to it. So I actually did a microbiome test to see what was going on in my gut. And it turns out I had leaky gut syndrome. And I kind of knew there was something going on internally as well. Like your body tells you everything you need to know, right? You just have to listen to it. So I went and did the test, and I had leaky gut syndrome. And I've been working toward that ever since. And it hasn't necessarily affected my content because I do things outside of it, because like you said, it's all about sustainability and balance. So like I love cooking what I cook, and I feel like that's what brings people to my page. So for me, it was all about working around my work, but also prioritizing my health and finding that balance. And so like breakfast, dinner, and everything around my content has completely changed to achieve that sustainability.
Yeah, it's like that meal meal that you make to share on your social pages and the content that you create is at 20% soul food.
Exactly.
And then everything outside of it, you're super mindful and you're ensuring that you're eating whatever agrees with your gut.
Yeah.
What are the symptoms of a leaky gut? Like how does someone know whether they have a leaky gut?
I'm obviously no health professional, so this is just
disclaimer,
yeah,
guys.
this is me personally. But I have always been slim from the front and thick on the side, and I'd always hold a lot of weight in really uncomfortable places, and I always noticed I was inflamed in the face, and whether or not it was because I was not looking after myself as much as I should have been, or whether it was because I had leaky gut, we'll never know, but they go hand in hand. And I just was so inflamed in the face, and like I just felt really lethargic all the time, so I knew internally there was something more. And yeah, that's why I decided to get the microbiome done.
And do you feel like a lot of that's improved since you've made those adjustments?
Absolutely, yeah. So I'm on supplements to help with my leaky gut, like a gut R drink, digestive zymes and things like that. Again, not recommending it. This is prescribed to me, but they have helped a lot with how like healing that hole in my gut. So now I can notice my body digesting a lot more regularly, and also of course I'm implementing a lot more whole foods and fresh foods outside of the food that I create, and I can just notice my energy level, my focus, brain fog gone, like my creativity's through the roof. Like it truly is like every mind, gut, body, like everything is related, and you can't neglect one because they all just sort of
they all talk to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you know that the gut and the mind actually have a connection? So when you are in your mother's stomach and you're becoming a human, the stomach and the brain are actually connected as one. Yeah. And then they separate as you start to form like your organs and, you know, you start to become human-like shape. Yeah. And so they say that what you feed in your stomach will always affect your mental health and your mental 100%. Clarity, but also what you think about will affect your gut. And so when people talk about being bloated and so on, anxiousness and, you know, thinking that you feel bloated can also cause you to feel bloated, which is crazy.
I know, and it's so crazy because I was going over things. This is my first podcast, guys, so I sort of was rehearsing, but I had mentioned this to myself when I was in the car having this pretend conversation, but I might talk about this with my roommate a lot. If you feel guilty about eating something and you in your mind you're going, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that, you're literally telling your body to not digest that food.
Absolutely.
Like your body's gonna not break it down, you're gonna be bloated, you're gonna feel shitty about it because you literally told your body to feel like that.
Yeah.
So now like when I talk about, you know, the 80-20, which looks different for a lot of people, like my 80-20 isn't 80-20 every day, it differs depending on the food that I make, but like also tracking my cycle as well and knowing, oh, okay, I'm craving something sweet, I'm in this part of my period, I listen to my body and I don't feel guilty for giving into that biscuit or whatever it is because I know my body needed that. I'm going to and also exactly my mind, if I tell my body to digest it as if it was a piece of fruit, it's going to do so.
I'm eating a fruit. Yeah, and you're like, I'm eating it's a fruit, it's a banana.
You gotta play tricks in your favor, right? You're like, yeah, I'll have a fruit after this. Like same. We're gonna digest it all. It's all gonna come out the same way.
Your body's like, yeah, it's all the nutrients the same as fruit.
Yeah, literally. But it's also like I do that more so to train myself not to feel guilty about certain foods.
You should never feel guilty about food.
No, never.
Ever. And I love that. And you're so right. It's that mind and gut connection. There's actually a book called The Mind-Gut Connection. Highly recommend. It's something that I read very early on in my career, and it just makes sense. It's science, right? It's evidence-based, and it just teaches you the impact of this to this. Like for guys that are just listening to the audio, your gut to your brain and your brain to your gut.
100%.
And everything that you're saying is so accurate. Maybe not the donut being processed as fruit, but everything else impacts it so much, and I love that. Yeah. So tell me, like, so many people want to be a content creator, right? Like particularly in the recipe space. First and foremost, congratulations. I didn't know it's been like a year since you started. You have grown so much.
It's been a crazy journey.
Wow. Like well done. That is incredible.
I really appreciate that.
So many people would be inspired by your journey and would look at your page and the content you create and be like, oh, I just want to be like that. But they don't also realize like what it entails. I'm more interested in knowing like what is your typical day in the life as a food developer, a content creator, and how does that actually fit into your meals for the day? Because you're cooking and you obviously don't want it to go to waste. So tell me a typical day in the life and then talk me through your meals as well.
a day in my life, I get up, I walk Boston. Obviously, Boston's my dog. We go to Sydney Park every morning. And then
Don't tell people that. Everyone's going to start,
Oh,
I'm coming to Sydney Park.
nothing I don't share on my Instagram stories anyway.
I'm
but please
kidding.
come say hi.
Come say hi. Hopefully
It's a
they get
meeting
a slice of tiramisu when they come say hi.
Next time I see you, I'm
never going to drop this,
yeah.
by the way, until I get a slice of that tiramisu.
I was about to say, next time I see you, I'm going to have to bring you a
Yes,
piece.
you
I
have
can't
to.
come
You
empty-handed.
have
But then before I didn't drink, I tried not to drink coffee last year, but I'm back on the coffee bandwagon because I try to have a better relationship with it because, again, trying to heal my gut. So not having caffeine on an empty stomach. So I'll have a protein yogurt in the morning before my coffee. And then I'll usually have breakfast a couple of hours later and I will have eggs. Sometimes I'll have some mince as well with sauerkraut, so something fermented, good for the gut. And then fiber, so some sort of fruit and fatty acids. That's like a quarter of an avocado.
Yeah.
And that's my breakfast. And that fills me up. And I try not to have as many carbs in the morning because my food tends to be quite carb heavy. When I first started my cooking journey, I put on like 10 kilos because I had trained myself to think or to feel guilty for not finishing my serving or to not finish what I had created. So I'm still on this journey of training myself to be healthier with food. So when I cook whatever it is during lunchtime, I will have a decent serving size, but nothing that's, taking the piss because my meals, I don't really take into considerations macro as long as it has some sort of protein, carbs and fat. But I'm just wary of the amount of food that I'm having for that particular meal. And then dinner often is sometimes leftovers of what I cooked the previous day because I don't want to chuck things out. So again, it's all about just controlling the portion sizes of the foods that I am eating of those more indulgent foods, but anything outside of that is really whole food focused.
I love that because by the way, to everyone that's listening, we actually spoke about this before we walked into the studio and I asked Jazz, I'm like, do you eat everything that you cook? And she's like, absolutely.
Yeah.
So she's cooking what she wants to eat. So it's not just about what's trending or, obviously a lot of your audience would influence what you cook, but it's what you want to eat. And I love that so much.
Yeah.
But you found a way to incorporate it into your day while still being healthy and being balanced.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, maybe I won't have the full serving size and I'll save half for dinner and have that later or save it for tomorrow. Or, I know that it's going to be carb heavy.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a high protein, higher fat meal in the breakfast to keep me fuller, get all of my essential fat, the good fats that my body needs for my heart, and just ensure that I'm getting things for muscle repairing because I know you love to do boxing, which really gets it out of you.
For sure.
And so it's like you're mindful of all of the important things to live a healthy life, but you're still having things that you love to eat, which is most important.
For sure. And I think it's important as a food creator to make those foods that I'm really excited about because in my videos, I'm enthusiastic when I'm eating the food. It's orgasmic to me. That's how much food is, it means to me. I love food and that's why I do what I do, but I don't ever want to feel like I have to cook something because I have to or make it ever feel like a chore because that takes the authenticity away from my content. And so as much as planning ahead, like we spoke about before we came in here, is ideal for me personally. It just doesn't make as much sense to plan too far ahead because if I plan on making a Thai red curry next Thursday, but I enter my luteal phase a little bit earlier and I'm like, fuck that, I don't want that, I want a bloody burrito and I end up making the curry anyway, you're going to be able to feel it in my video. I'm a very high energy person, you'll know, or it's, very hard for me to be like, delicious when it's not in fact what I want. Yeah. And also listening to my body is really important because I'm eating what I want, so I'm not craving anything, so I'm not having the curry and then going and getting a burrito from GYG or wherever and then having 2 meals. So I feel like I've learned, I'm still on this journey as well, I'm still trying to find a balance and I'm trying to get to a weight that I'm not that I'm not happy with my weight right now, but I'm still trying to work on my gut and be really comfortable within myself. So I'm still on this journey. It's definitely not at the end or toward the end, but I am really focusing on the balance that we just spoke about.
And you'll be on this journey for so many years.
Oh, exactly.
Your intake when it comes to your nutrition and balance and everything, including fitness, is going to be an ongoing journey.
Absolutely.
There's going to be moments where you feel like doing this and there's going to be moments where you feel like doing that, and it's just going to evolve and you're going to evolve as a person throughout it. And one thing that you mentioned just then was about I want to eat things that I'm craving because the last thing that I want to do is eat the curry because I've made it or it's the right thing to eat, and then go and get a burrito after.
Yeah.
And people don't understand that. So people are like, oh, I'm just going to eat this salad, this chicken salad with whatever in it because it's the right thing to do. And then they don't feel satisfied.
Yeah.
And then they go and they eat a burger. And it's like, well, if you just ate the burger, you've just saved yourself half the calories because you've not eaten 2 meals. And you've just essentially just satisfied yourself. Like, just eat what you love. Like, make it work.
Absolutely.
Because the outcome is so much better when you do.
Of course.
Of course, keeping mindful of the rest of your day.
Yes, of course.
You can't have burgers every meal of the day.
No.
But I just love that approach. And that's exactly what we apply when we educate our community. It's like, eat the food that you love because you will feel satisfied. And you are less likely going to binge or put yourself in like that rut because you're like restricting. And then you get it and you're like, oh, I don't want to stop eating it because when will I ever get this again?
Exactly.
So I love that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about like some different diets you've explored in your life. Which one was the most unconventional and what insights did you gain from this experience?
I tried keto at one point. It worked for the time that I did it, but it's just not sustainable, is it? Like for how long can you avoid carbs?
When did you do this?
Oh, it was when I lived on the Gold Coast. It must have been like, I want to say like 2.5, 3 years ago. I slimmed down a lot. Don't get me wrong.
Imagine you doing keto.
Well, this was before food was ever like topical. Like it was back in my, like when I was on the Gold Coast and I wasn't loving life. So I was trying to do things to make me love life, and
keto would not make me love life. No.
This is one thing I found as well, like listening to what works for other people doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you.
Yeah.
And that's one thing like I've really had to hone in on, is that TikTok is a crazy place and you can learn so much about it, but social media as a whole as well. But you can get so caught up in someone saying, oh, I did this and that, and this is what's working for me, because that's not necessarily going to work for 10 other people or, you know, the thousands of people that are watching. So I would happily say right now I'm at a really good point with this, you know, focus on whole foods and not putting pressure on myself or feeling guilty about anything, and focusing on a 80-20 approach majority of the time, and minority I might slip up and this and that, but I'm never feeling guilty about it. But I'm just, it's 1% better every day, right? So it's like, as long, I'm looking at this long term and not like 6-8 weeks. Like I want to slowly slim down, tone up, whatever, and achieve my dream body, because I'm far from it at the moment, but that's personal preference. But I want to do it long and slow, and I want to be sustainable and fall into a really nice pattern of like a healthier relationship with food, because it's not, my relationship with food was never great back in the day, and I was trying these fad diets, trying to find something that would work, and there isn't really a diet that does work. It's just like, it's a lifestyle.
Yes.
You just have to focus on sustainability, which is exactly what EQ focuses on, and that's exactly why I decided to collab with you guys not too long ago. But it truly is like, you can't sit there and tell someone, oh, you got to try this, or this is what worked for me, because everyone's different. It's not going to work.
I'm smiling because I don't, like, most people can't see me right now because it's audio, but I'm smiling because what you've just said is exactly what we just spoke in the last episode.
Oh, nice.
Like it's, so that 1%. It's that 1% every day, right?
For sure.
And it's doing something that you can sustain for the rest of your life. TikTok is a crazy platform, and there is so much shit out there. Everyone has their own opinion. You know, everyone has a different way of doing something. And what may work for them may not necessarily work for you, because it's not something that you enjoy.
Exactly.
And the method that works the best and the most effective is something that you can do for the rest of your life. Because much like keto, right, you'll see fast results because you're essentially cutting carbs, you're cutting calories, aka you're in a deficit. But carbs retain water. So you're instantly going to lose water weight. Yeah. And then you stop doing keto because it's not sustainable. And who the fuck likes doing keto? No offense to anyone that does keto that's listening. But like, you can't avoid carbs for the rest of your life.
No, unless you want to be miserable. If it works for you,
if it works for you, it works for you, right? But like, my God, I would much prefer to eat all of your meals, right? Like, you're missing out on life. So yeah, absolutely. That's exactly, you need to find what works for you. And it's a trial and error process.
Absolutely.
Like, you're going to try things and you're going to love it. Yeah. And then you might take that into the next approach. And then you might take that into the next. And you might find that you don't like to exercise this way or eat this meal or whatever it may be. Yeah. But as long as you can sustain it, which is most important. Yeah. And that's what I love about what you're doing. And you actually said to me before, you're like, as long as it's just like the little changes, you're not coming in and doing a drastic overhaul. I'm going to cut all of this out and do this and do that.
Yeah.
I'm just doing what feels right.
For sure.
And I'm enjoying the process.
Yes.
Like you look happy. You're not like sitting here
Yeah.
being like, oh my God, I'm doing this and I'm fixing my gut. But fuck, I hate it.
Yeah,
You're like,
no.
I feel good.
I do, yeah. And I know it's a long journey and I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about the next few seconds and the next moment. Like it is all to come, and I know that, and I find reassurance and not putting pressure on myself, knowing that if I can focus on becoming 1% better every day, everything that I want in life and not just body, like and health is going to come.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The smallest changes make the biggest difference.
Absolutely. And it's just consistency. And you just have to remind yourself that it's never linear, whatever you do.
Oh, yeah.
It's never just going to be a straight line up or down or whatever. It's always going to have highs
Everything.
and lows.
Business,
Everything.
filming content online,
Of
your
course.
weight loss journey.
Yeah.
Everything.
Everything.
It's never linear. So
No,
like,
never.
don't be hard on yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell me, what sparked your interest in sharing recipes online? And how has your content creation journey transformed over time? Because I'm only finding out that you were doing keto in the Gold Coast 2 years ago.
Yeah. And now I'm sat here with you.
Now you're in Sydney thriving, writing a book, a recipe book. So tell me, like, what sparked this?
I always watched cooking videos in high school. That was my hobby.
I did too as well, actually.
Yeah, Tasty on Facebook. That was what it was.
I was watching like the baking shows.
Oh,
like,
really?
You know, when they
Yeah.
like make cakes and cupcakes.
Yeah. So that was ultimately my personality trait in high school. I didn't have many back then, but that was the be all and end all for me. And I got into a relationship and I started cooking for us. I'm not necessarily sure if you'd call it cooking because he was a super picky eater, which is very ironic for me because I am the least pickiest eater. And when we split up for obvious reasons, I moved back in with Dad and I was just bored shitless. And I just remember thinking to myself, I wonder how good I can make fresh pasta off the cuff, knowing what I know just from watching videos. And I got up and I did. I made fresh fettuccine and I made my own like roasted like vegetable sauce with seared barramundi. And I was like,
Damn, you were like, damn, yeah.
Yeah. Posted it on my personal Instagram and people were like, shit. And I was like, yeah, man, I just did that. And I got such a high from it. And so I did it the next night and I did ravioli. I was like, okay, fettuccine, pish posh, it is what it is. Let's do ravioli. So I did like a spinach and ricotta in a burnt ravioli in a burnt butter and sage sauce with pine nuts and parmesan and lemon and all this. And I was like, God damn, like I'm not bad. Like, and I just kept posting on my personal, and then it got to a point where people were like, okay, like I think you need to take this to a separate page. And I was like, yeah, okay. But at that point, I thought I wanted to climb the corporate ladder in my marketing role. And on the Gold Coast, I was a marketing manager, and I thought climbing the ladder and becoming, you know, big in the marketing world or whatever it was what I wanted to do, because that's what I went to uni for, and I'm in 30K debt for it because that's what they tell you got to do. And obviously I just felt hollow. I was so complacent on the Gold Coast, and like that's why I moved to Sydney, because I needed something quick and I needed to change my life and I needed to feel uncomfortable. I need to put myself in a very unfamiliar situation to make myself adapt, because with that you learn so many new things about yourself, what's important to you and this and that. So I made the vast decision to move down to Sydney. Within 4 weeks, packed up and drove down.
Why Sydney?
Adrian was here. So Adrian's my best mate, but I didn't know anyone else in Melbourne or WA or anything like that. And he was like, just come down, live with me for a week until you find a place and then sort it out. If you don't like it, you can move back. He is a great friend. He is, yeah. He would slide in and do your teams if he could. I was going to say something to you off camera, but we're now.
I'm sorry, Adrian, I have a boyfriend.
I said to him, I think she's seeing someone. I saw the roses on Valentine's Day.
Boyfriend.
That he
very much loved up.
Oh, love that for
I'll
you.
take that as a compliment. Thank you, Adrian.
Oh,
He's
God.
going to be like, Jasmine, why did you say that?
I'll say it off camera. I'm not going to embarrass him too much.
It's on camera now.
So he probably won't even listen to this, from being for real. But if you do, sorry, brother. But yeah, moved down to Sydney because I had a friend here. So I didn't know anyone anywhere else in Australia except from the Gold Coast. And moved to Australia and I landed.
Moved to Sydney.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, obviously. Moved to Sydney and I landed a job as a in PR with Audi the supermarkets for like 80K a year. And I was like, oh my God, this is the most amount of money I've ever made. And Adrian was just like, why would you move and change everything in your life but keep the job that was making you most miserable? He was like, you're just going to fall into depression. He was like, you have got no friends or family here and you're going to go into a job that you know you hate. And I was like, okay, fair. He was like, go into hospitality, take the pay cut, pick the brains of the chefs, learn a thing or two until you're ready to do whatever it is you do. Yeah, he's great for that. I will give him that. And so that's what I did. I got a job at Mateo's downtown, which is a really well-known restaurant.
Great
the one
restaurant.
in the CBD.
They do good tiramisu there.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. I won in the CBD. And then did exactly that. I was picking the brains of the chefs, asking this and that, looking at how they plate things. And obviously just got too much and the hours were crazy and I was just exhausted all the time. So I swapped hospitality jobs for a 9 to 5 and I was like, oh, at least I can, still do hospitality but be in routine. Loathed that job tenfold. Ended up having like an altercation with the manager at the time. She tried to insult me, but because I hated the job, I wasn't taking it. So we were bickering back and forth and then she just fired me because I was on 3 months probation. And I was like, yeah, fair. Like it's not working. I don't want to be here. So I left. And again, Adrian was like, don't get another job. You know what you want to do. And I was like, how am I going to do it? I've got $0 to my name. And he was like, you'll figure it out. Like, trust me, everything works out.
Was any part of you like, I want to be a recipe developer?
No.
No part of you?
No. So I knew I wanted to something food related.
Yeah.
But whatever that looked like, I wasn't sure. I knew I could keep posting. I only had about 600 followers on my Eats page. It was all the people that I knew personally. And it seemed impossible at the time. He was like, you know what you want to do. And I was like, what, post to 600 people with $0 to my name? Like,
how long ago was this?
November 2022. So a little over a year.
And now what, you have over 200K?
Yeah, quarter of
Damn,
a million,
girl.
baby. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. So he just, he was like, well, if you need to cook on a budget, I'm sure many other people do too. So I have a video, you can even scroll down where I'm like, right, I'm saving for Europe. I'm going to post budget meals. I'm going to call it hot broke girl meals.
Was this the Europe trip that you went to last year?
Yeah. I was saving for a different Europe trip, but I ended up going to Europe anyway with Adrian and his brother James, but I was saving for a different one at the time, but plans changed. But yeah, it happened anyway. And that series that I started, the Hot Broke Girl Meals, is sort of what, just took off and I went viral. And
was there one that just like really...
Yeah, it was so silly. Such a silly...
Whenever I film content, I'm just like, oh, I don't want to post this. I hate it. And that's the one that performs the best. And I'm just like, how?
And the ones you put the littlest of effort into are always the ones that do better. It's the most frustrating thing as a content creator. Like, you put so much time into a video, you're like, oh my God, this recipe's cracker. So many people are going to be into it.
The edits are great. I look great. The food looks great.
Yeah, literally. And then I get like 1,000 views. I'm like, cool.
So what one really made it for you? What was the video?
I got a comment on one of my videos. The first recipe I posted was my butter chicken recipe. And someone said, that's not broke. Broke is eating a $4 pizza over 2 meals. So I responded to it and I was like, challenge accepted. And I made a $2.50 or $3.50 pasta. And it was like bacon, spinach, this and that. And it just went crazy. It's a stupid little, it had like 4 ingredients in it. It was so basic, but I was trying to prove a point that you can still cook really well. Even if it is still pasta, you're still cooking. It's still a skill everybody, I believe, should have and should know.
Yeah.
And my point was just to prove that you still can cook with the amount of money that you spend on a $4 frozen pizza. And that one took off, which obviously worked out great because now we're here and I'm writing a goddamn cookbook.
I know.
But it was such a silly little video.
I was actually cooking pasta the other day because you're like, this is a skill that everyone should have.
Yeah.
And look, I don't know, this has never happened to me, but like I boiled the water, put salt in, put pasta in, and I just let it cook the pasta. And then at the end, my boyfriend's like, did you stir the pasta? And I was like, no. And he's like, it will stick to the bottom of the pot. I'm like, pasta never sticks to the bottom of the pot. And I was thinking, didn't it? Do you not even know how to cook pasta? Like, he's never cooked pasta before to know that pasta's not going to stick to the bottom of the pot. But
he was
just
I got it. Yeah.
He's like, did you not stir it? And I was just like, why would I stir my pasta?
Yeah.
And he's like, so it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot. And I'm like, what? Pasta doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot?
Yeah, super interesting.
And then I'm like, how do you not know how to cook fast. But anyways, skill that everyone definitely needs to have.
I agree. Yeah, for sure.
So good segue, because I did want to talk into just jumping into eating on a budget. With everything that's going on right now, the increase in cost of living, the groceries on the rise, it's, you know, in the media everywhere. I've felt it. It costs me like nearly $200 a week for a solo person.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of money. Mind you, I shop in the East. So like they've inflated the prices where I am. So probably
tenfold.
should probably go somewhere else. But it is expensive. So tell me, what are your 5 top tips for budget conscious grocery shopping?
This is great because I actually just wrote this in my cookbook, like went into further detail, not to plug myself, but like this is it. My 5 budget tips would be, number 1, do not buy pre-made marinades or pre-marinated protein. Buy the ingredients for the marinade. Not only will it offer you like versatility and creative freedom in the kitchen, because now you've got those ingredients to make so many other different dishes, but long term it will lower your grocery bill. I know it's more of an upfront cost, but having, which leads me to my second one, have your kitchen staples and fridge staples like stocked at all times, because then you've only got to really go to the shop and get like 3 or 4 different ingredients, mostly fresh produce. I know it seems like it will be more of an upfront cost to, you know, stock your pantries with all the herbs and spices, this and that, but trust me, it's better to do it once off than whenever you find a recipe you're really excited about and then there's like 17 ingredients and you go, oh, I'm not going to the shops, because that's just way too overwhelming to buy all of those ingredients for. If your pantry and fridge are stocked and you buy all these little ingredients for all these different recipes, 9 times out of 10, you've got 13 of them at home already. You just need to go and buy the 4 remaining ones.
So just take the hit.
Just take it, yeah. And it long term, it will lower your groceries, because if you're constantly buying pre-marinated protein, they're like 3 times the amount of just normal chicken breast or something like that. Exactly. And God knows what's in them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? My third one, make bulk if you can. But with that, I know some people, this is where a lot of people get discouraged, is they are not the best at cooking. And so they try and scale one of their favorite dishes from a 1 to 2 serving to like a 5 or 6 serving so they can have it throughout the week. But then it gets to like day 4, you end up chucking it out and buying a $30 salad at the local cafe anyway, because you haven't like really learned how to take that dish from like shit to lit, which is like one of the things that I talk about on my page. But educate yourself on the little things that you can do in the kitchen to make lower quality ingredients taste a little bit better. Because if we're all shopping on the budget, I still shop, you know, like home brand stuff, because I'm showing, you know, I'm educating people what you can do in the kitchen. And it's like the little methods and techniques in the kitchen that you can do to really elevate things in the kitchen. So take the time to cook a little better. Like that's just how it works, unfortunately. In this day and age, like the instant gratification we have with like Uber Eats and delivery, like it's such a shame to see what cooking has come to, but just take the time to be a little better in the kitchen. Like it really. How
do you be better in the kitchen?
Oh, you should buy my cookbook. I'll tell you all about it.
We won't leak too much. We won't look too much. Give me one little.
Just there's like cooking your spices out or simmering a dish to reduce the liquid in it to like intensify the flavors. Like read a recipe first and foremost, front to back, and actually like don't just assume what the next step is, and take time, be patient with the food. Like patience was one of the things I really struggled with. I used to look at the cook time and it used to be like 30 minutes and I used to be like, I can do that in 15.
The meat's cooked in 10.
Exactly.
It's done. But no, the flavors, you need it to combine.
Yeah, exactly. So there are just like a lot of little things, like I said, cooking out the spices, simmering a dish, like just taking the time to understand what that ingredient needs for the overall, it makes a world of difference. Like ultimately you want to be eating food that you enjoy, that tastes really good, right? So take pride in the cooking. Don't just chuck everything in the pan because you're lazy, because you know, I feel like some people almost do that. So they know day by day 4 or 5 when they're cooking bulk, they're like, oh, that's going to taste like shit. That's my leeway to get Subway that day or GYG. And then you've just like exhausted your food budget for the next week.
Yeah.
So there are like a lot of, and also like, buy what you need. It's, you know, there's a whole psychology around supermarkets, the way they're laid out, you know, our eye level when we walk through a supermarket, or all the things, highly processed, really expensive. I think a packet of crisps is like $7. That's almost like a kilo of chicken breast. So do you know what I mean? Like,
where do you get your chicken breast from? Mine's costing me like $15.
You live in the East, sis. No wonder.
I need to come shopping with you on the weekend.
Yeah, just Marrickville Metro. Yeah.
Now everyone knows where you shop, where you walk your dog.
God damn it. I gotta get better at
people
this.
pop up like, hey, can you help me grocery shop? What should I make for dinner this week?
Someone just follows me around, buys everything that I buy. No, I got to get better at this.
That's so funny. No, you know what? One thing that I would recommend when it comes to like making your food taste good is just keep it simple.
Yeah.
People try and overcomplicate
For
things.
sure.
And like sometimes you've just got to keep it simple. Like keep your recipe simple. If you're not a good cook, don't try and go and cook something that's going to be 30-step cooking method.
Yeah.
Like just
Know your
bring it back.
threshold. Yeah,
go
exactly.
and make a bolognese. That's going to take you 20 minutes and you only need 3 ingredients for it. Well, not 3, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure.
Like just keep it simple, which is most important.
Yeah.
So talking about going to the supermarket, how do you get the most value out of like your grocery shopping from the minute that you walk into the supermarket to like actually the items that you buy? So how do I like keep within my budget when I shop? So I'm there and I'm keeping within budget, but then also like how do I get the most out of my ingredients that I buy? You've touched on the second one with buying like herbs and spices instead of getting like pre-marinated chickens and stuff. But like I'm there and I only have $100. How do I stay within my budget? Like what are your tips?
First and foremost, go with a plan. Write a shopping list. What do you need? But also have a look at those ingredients that you are buying for a specific dish and try and think of other recipes that you can make. So, for example, if you've got to buy a whole head of cabbage for one recipe, what else can we make with that? Because cabbage is a high volume food that can bulk out a lot of things. It may not work in some, but this is the thing about the cooking world as well. Just because it's a recipe, like you don't need to follow it exactly how, cooking's all about trusting yourself, learning what it is that you like and what you don't like so that you can better prepare for, whether it's a budget meal or, your whole week or whatever it is. But plan around the ingredients, for example, let's just focus around one meal that you really, 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 really want. You've got to buy a bunch of ingredients for. Have a look at those ingredients. What other meals can you make that only require an extra 2 or 3 to make a whole last meal out of? So go with a plan and really focus on, like what I just said, and also elevating your leftovers. So I'm in my phase at the moment of taking anything that's left over from my meals and elevating them. So for example, if you want to make bulk bolognese, you don't necessarily have to have it with pasta every day. And if you know you're going to get sick of it by day 4, think outside the box, add some cumin into it on day 3. You've just made it taste a little bit Mexican-y. Chuck it on some nachos or put it in a burrito, but keep it health, be conscious about what it is that you're putting in it, and you've just made an entirely different meal from the same ingredients. With the same ingredients.
Can I just say something? All of my guests are saying the same message. So Greer, who's our lead recipe developer at EQ, was talking about how she will bulk cook meat. Yeah. And she's like, I'll just go cook chicken and then I'll use that same chicken for 5 different meals for the rest of the week. Yeah. And I just change it up for whatever I feel like. Yeah. Essentially. And that's exactly what you said. You're like, we'll make the bolognese like mince and then go and repurpose it for another dish. Yeah. And there 100%. You go. You've used the same ingredient and you don't have to buy 50 meats for the week. Yeah, exactly. And you've saved the cost.
And you're not eating the same. Some people can eat the same thing every day, but for the majority, or maybe not, you like I said, you get to day 4 or 5 and you're like, I can't stand the thought of that anymore. So you don't really need to do that. I just posted a video. I took a whole roast chook, shredded it and turned it into 3 different meals. Like I did like some tacos, a barbecue beef burger, and then like a chicken salad on a bagel. But like that in a nutshell is ultimately what you were just saying. Yeah. Like there are so many different ways that you can repurpose your leftovers and different foods, and having your pantry and staples stocked like that allows gives you that freedom to do so.
Yeah, you're so right about that. Yeah. So tell me, I know that when I was single, I actually struggled to cook for one. Like I just didn't enjoy it. Yeah. I'm just like, I'm going to get ready-made meals because like I hate cooking for one. Yeah. So like what tips do you have for singles who want to enjoy fresh homemade meals without the hassle of planning for one? Because I feel like it's just so daunting and it's really not enjoyable. I don't know. Like, do you cook for anyone or is it just you?
It's just my roommate and I.
Do you cook for your roommate?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm not just going to cook myself like a 5 out of 5 dish and be like, actually, you can have your... humbly said. Yeah. No, but keep it simple. For when you're cooking for one, you don't need to overcomplicate it. Like, go back to the basics, meat and 2 veg, but there are so many things that you can do to that dish to elevate it. You don't necessarily need to make a whole ass dish for yourself. Like, you can just bring it back to basics and then use the knowledge that you know around cooking to elevate that dish. Like I know it can seem really daunting and overwhelming, But if you really take a step back from what everyone else is doing, again, stop focusing on what other people are doing. What do you feel like? Okay, you feel like red meat. Okay, well, let's go get a steak. You feel like, maybe you want some chips or something or whatever, but like go get a roast potato but then you can jazz those up by like, with garlic butter or a nice sauce. You can make a pan sauce with it. So it's like little things. I know it seems like a lot of effort, but as opposed to making a whole ass dish, it's really not. Like,
so keep it simple for yourself.
Exactly,
and just elevate it with flavors.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, like if you're getting a whole packet of mince, instead of like cooking every portion every time you want to cook, just cook the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like what we were saying before.
Yeah.
Just cook the full packet of mince for the bolognese.
For sure.
And then just have it over the next 3 nights. Because what I was finding was I was wasting a lot of ingredients as a single.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well, I'm not going to eat all of this. I don't need all of this lettuce, or I don't need all of this chicken breast.
Yeah.
But like what I started to learn was that, well, if I cook it all, I can repurpose it.
Exactly.
And then make other meals out of it. So I'm not having the same thing all the time.
Exactly.
So talking about batch cooking, it can be great for time and money saving. What are some guidelines on how long these meals can last, and what are the best practices for keeping them fresh?
I feel like there has been a lot of fear instilled within us around food and the longevity of things. My roommate and I have two different opinions on keeping food in the fridge, and I've never had food poisoning from my own cooking or salmonella or anything like that, but she can, and I understand why people do get quite eerie about leaving things in the fridge, but I feel like, not to get woo-woo-wah on people, but I feel like fear has been instilled in us to keep consuming. Once food is cooked, I will honestly keep it in there for a week, depending on obviously what it is. If you have a good airtight container, you're not constantly opening it every day. So for example, if you are cooking bulk mince, separate it out into portions so the stuff you are not touching can stay airtight. I promise you it'll be fine. I fear, like this fear that's been instilled in us obviously is to keep us consuming, but trust me, if you just portion things out, keep it in a really good airtight container, as long as your fridge is frigging, it's really not like, it's not as scary as you think.
You know, I'm that type of person that if someone is like best before or expired by, I see that date, I'm like, no, I'm not eating anymore.
Yeah, my dad is much the same, and that's probably why I'm like this as well. But my dad will cook something and leave it on the stove for God knows how long, even the next morning, and then put it in the fridge. Like
anxiety.
I know. Do you know what I'm saying? My dad is probably the worst person. Yeah.
I'll leave it out for like 2 hours. Like I'll be eating dinner and then I would be like, oh my God, I forgot to put it in the fridge. I can't eat it. I'll make my boyfriend eat it.
Yeah.
And like we won't even talk about it. Like he'll be like, don't worry, babe, I'll eat it.
Yeah.
Because he knows that I'm so
Yeah.
anal like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some people, I
I'm
get
so
it.
scared.
I get it, truly. But my dad, living proof, like, he's so fine. He's the worst with it. He's probably the most extreme example, but he's really bad. I don't know if it should be called bad, because like he's fine. He's never been sick from it. But I know it is daunting for some, and I totally get it. But it is fine. It's okay. Like I said, quality airtight container. Don't open it as much if you are. Like I said, grabbing servings out, serve it, portion it out beforehand, and you'll be so fine.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to take that tip on. I'm going to take that tip on. Okay, to wrap things up, because like all of my guests, I can talk for hours. I just love talking so much.
You and me both.
Looking back at the journey you've been on, what's one piece of advice you would give to your younger self about finding balance and fulfillment in both health and life?
Just focus on yourself, babe. Like we were talking about before, like social media is so crazy. You've got a million people telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what you can eat, what you can't eat. Just like, I know it's really hard, but once you start actually listening to your body, like I said, your body will tell you exactly what you need to know. I don't know, this might be a bit too close to home for some people, but if you start dating someone and all of a sudden you start getting UTIs every week and you're sick and your body is literally telling you that person is like not good for you. It's the same with food, any friends, family, like your body will tell you exactly what you need to know about everything in your life. So it's all about just being in tune with yourself, trust yourself, try different things. If you like TikTok, I've learned a lot of TikTok. I'm not discrediting TikTok, but you need to have a healthy relationship and set boundaries with yourself with social media. If you're going to take things from social media, take it with a grain of salt, implement certain things to try, but don't hold on to be like, oh my God, that's not working, I'm doomed. You know, that was my last hope, because that's not the case at all. What works for you is not going to work for me, and vice versa. So like, just keep trying. You'll find what works. Be patient with yourself. And also, like, a lot of the reasons why I look after myself now is because I respect myself and I love myself, and my worth is a lot better than what it is now. So like, it all starts with how you view yourself, how much you respect yourself. So if there's anything that you're focusing on, it should be that, because the second you actually look at yourself or put yourself on a pedestal, you're like, oh, I don't deserve to feel like that or look like that or feel like that. Like, I want to treat myself with more respect. So I'm going to start doing things that reflect that, so that my higher self can look down and be like, yeah, bitch, we got this.
Yeah, like nourishing yourself. Just being like, why am I going to punish myself?
Exactly.
Like, I'm fucking great.
Yeah.
Like, I need to look after my body.
100%.
I need to look after my mind, my brain, my gut, everything.
Yeah.
Like, my mental health. I am going to give my body everything that I consume.
For sure.
You know, like whether it's like listening, eating, whatever, any type of consumption. The best that it deserves.
Absolutely.
And what people don't realize is what they see on TikTok. So someone might be like, oh, I'm eating this meal and it's helped me lose 12 kilos and this is what I'm doing. But they don't see what they're doing for the rest of the 23 hours of the day.
Exactly.
That's probably equating to what it's causing them to lose weight.
Exactly.
And again, just like make sure you check that it's like evidence-based. Like, what are the facts? Like, is this science or is this person just like, talking shit?
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, filter through the bullshit.
Absolutely.
Focus on yourself and worry about yourself.
Yeah,
that's all you need to.
literally.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah, 100%.
I love that. Thank you so much for coming on. I've absolutely loved speaking to you. I've got a few tips that I'm definitely going to implement. Marrickville Metro is where I'm going, but on the way to shop.
You're probably spending $17 a kilo on chicken breast in the East. Yeah.
It's crazy. Even at Aldi, right? So I decided to go to Aldi because apparently it's a little bit cheaper. Same. Like, it's still like in the $15, $16 for chicken breast.
Crazy how they can get away with that in like, not in those areas.
It's a thing though. Like, they say that in like high income areas, it's like marked up by 25% or something like that. I don't know. I could be talking shit, but that's what I've heard.
No, it makes sense. I get it.
So I need to be driving a little further out to be
if you want to
be saving on my groceries.
Yeah, come to Marrickville Metro.
We're gonna have a grocery date. Guys, if you want to see that, comment on whatever you can comment on. I don't know what you can comment on with podcasts, but if you want to see, we should do a grocery date.
We should.
Where we show what's in your trolley versus mine.
Yeah, that would be good.
So I wonder if there's going to be some...
I would love to do lots more content together. This has been so fun. I've really enjoyed it.
I know, me too. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you loved listening as much as I loved being a part of it, and I will see you next time.